Welcome to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm Liz.
And we're going to talk about season 12, episode 14, The Raid.
Like bug spray raid. That's kind of think of that.
Yeah, that I thought of it this time I said it. When I watched the show, I didn't, but now I thought of that. So
I think it's missing like the ers because it could be the raiders, but no, it's just the raid. So that to me sounds more like bug spray.
Fair. What have you been up to?
Being disappointed in the population. So I tried really hard to get, not really hard, but I've got a Boxlandia situation once again in my garage, and it happens to the best of us. And this one really isn't my fault; it's other people's boxes, and they're very large. And I finally scheduled some with somebody. I used Thumbtack, and I reached out. And this is not an ad for that app, but if you want to sponsor us, go for it. But so I picked my dude on the Thumbtack app, and then he was gave me the price. I'm like, that's okay. And then he was like, oh, I'll come out on Sunday. Sunday, I'm like, that's cool. He's like, I'll be here, but at a time. Like, that's fine. So I'm going to be here on Sunday, not a problem. All this, hang out at the house, not go to the grocery store, not do the things I need to do, but we'll just I need to get this taken care of.
Yeah.
Then I get the text. Oh, the dump is closing, and I don't have time to get this dump, this load in. So I will go to the dump in the morning and be at your place first thing in the morning. That's fine. Tomorrow morning, that's fine. We're still getting caved. We all have our things. Then the morning starts happening, and then gets further and further away from morning. And then is there an ETA? And it's and I know the dump on Mondays, you can get backed up there, but he was like, oh yeah, I'm just, just finished dumping my load, and said that he was basically past a landmark in San Antonio, which is about 30 minutes from my house. And then just 2 hours go by and don't hear anything.
Huh.
And I had told him I had a hard out because I had an appointment, and I had an appointment in the afternoon because he was supposed to be there in the morning. And it was well, so I had to cancel that, and now I still have Boxlandia because now I had to go through the process of hiring somebody again.
That's annoying.
It's so frustrating. Why did you do that to me?
Yeah.
Just if you don't have time to stop dicking me around, why are you dicking me around? It is rude. And so that's and I feel, and there's a lot of things that are contingent on that garage getting cleaned out.
Right. There's a domino effect on all of these things. Domino.
It just makes things can things just be easy once? Can someone just do what they're saying they're going to do? Is really,
Oh, that's hilarious.
So that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I think there's something else I was going to say. Oh, I went and saw Rubberboat Gamblers and Strung Out at Tulips in Fort Worth. That was fun. That was my first punk rock show since I had a knee surgery, and I guess I stand in the back anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I made
it's not you're down in the pit.
No, I'm it's not like that matters, but I had to go sit for a little bit, but I made it through most of the show, and I was really happy about being able to go enjoy that. And I what else did I do? Oh, I bought a car. Yay!
That's very exciting. It's very adult
excited.
thing.
She's very pretty. Babe's car started acting up, so who gets a new car? Me. That's how it works. Like it should.
Good.
And then this past week, it was also Texas Independence Day recently.
So I guess that happened. Okay. I don't know. It's March. There are bluebonnets on the side of the highway.
Yeah.
I think spring is here. Yeah. And I really I looked over and it was oh crap, that's a ton of bluebonnets. When did this happen? And I'm how did that happen? There hasn't been any rains.
That's reasonable too. But apparently we're gonna get it for the next week.
So there's again nothing that I know of has been going on. I actually didn't even check my news source because I just didn't want to look at the news.
We did have Jensen Ackles' birthday.
Oh, so that happened. Well, that's good. Well, happy birthday, Mr. Ackles. I'm sure you still look great. You look ridiculous for your age. Yes.
Facts.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about this episode. So, as we said, the raid. We'll talk about it's something that happens during it, I guess.
Sure.
And this was episode number 14 of season 12. It first aired March 12th, 2017. It was directed by John McCarthy, who passed away in August of 2023. We last saw him direct season 10, episode 6, Ask Jeeves. And this was written by Robert Behrens, who this season has done episode 7, Rock Never Dies. Before that, he did The Foundry, which was episode 3. So we are getting pretty far into this season. We're at episode 14 now. So we're past the halfway mark.
Yep.
So our recap, we start off with a shot of the poster for My Summer Blood, their Twilight ripoff. Yeah. And then we get reminded about vampires and vampire nests. And we've got BMOL coming in there, and that's a British Men of Letters, and they're irradiating vampires because they've got all these toys. Then they remind us that they stole the cult, and Mary's talking about nothing comes before family and that she confessed. But where does that leave us? And that's where it leaves us. And we just go right back into the middle of their conversation.
Yeah. And Dean is pissed. And she's like, but they have a better way. And Sam's like, when did this start? And Mary admits that the lake house was her. So that and they're like, you almost got Cass killed and you did get Wally killed. And she's like, I had to burn his body and I had to tell his wife.
Okay, one, gross. You can stop burning corpses, guys. Like, you know what happens. Like, I feel like this is an old hunter's funeral, but you just need to go, but stop burning fucking corpses. And Wally had a wife.
I know. Like, what the fuck? I know. I was more upset. I got more about upset that with Mary when I learned when she said that. I was even more upset.
Yeah, but Dean just has no sympathy.
None. When she's like, I watch him die every night, and he's like, Dean's response is, good. Bam. And we get a little stare down about this. So we cut to it says 3 days later, and we have a van that pulls up to the super secure property, and we find out that this weird bunker made out of, it's actually really cool. I say weird. It's weird because you don't know what the fuck is happening at first, but it's
made out of Connexes.
I know, that was cool.
I think that's cheap as fuck.
Well, it's temporary. That's what's good.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the imposed claustrophobia of it. And it also just reminds me of really gross, like, I think it happened in some television show where they were like having a bunch of like cam models and stuff in Connexes. And that's what I think I go to. So I have really bad things with Connexes. And I'm like, well, on the ranch, you're always full of rattlesnakes. And so, yeah, I don't like them in general.
We use them for storage in my work. So it's like,
yeah, are they full of rattlesnakes?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Are you sure?
Yes. I'm sure there's no rattlesnakes. Probably the occasional rat. I won't lie, just because.
If there's a rat, then there's rattlesnakes.
Not maybe at one location.
Okay, you're like, wait,
that one.
Okay, one finally. Okay, sorry, go on. Not to derail us with snakes.
So but you don't know where the fuck's happening, and we figure out that this is a super secure facility that is the British Men of Letters temporary compound.
Has to be somewhere close to Lawrence. I didn't check to see. It's like they did. So I think they just built it to be near the Winchesters.
Yeah, to recruit them. And so it's Mary and Mr. Ketch. And he, of course, is complimenting her again. And he holds up his new toy, the AVD. And then
so the AVD, yeah, which sounds like it sounds like something you catch when you have sex without condoms, and or I just like to call it his magic egg. And we are going to jump. I love when we do this right at the beginning of the show. We're going to jump right into some lore because we're going to talk about magic eggs or what's written on that magic egg, which is Enochian. And we're also going to talk about something else that is prepping us for when we finally get to Golden Dawn. So there's one last person you need to know about for the Golden Dawn, and he is the person that is responsible for what is called the Enochian alphabet, and that's John Dee. So we're talking about a very old astrologer from the 1500s named John Dee, who was possibly his magic's greatest cuck. I'll just call him that, and you'll find out why in this great story. So we're going to go to the 1500s. And while English, John Dee spent much of his youth studying abroad in Belgium and France. One, because apparently the English hated teaching math, and they just had a problem with it as a science and as a subject. And so in England, you didn't learn math. And two, his family had lost their status when Henry VIII died in 1547. So while he's away, besides getting to learn math, fucking nerd, he learned civil law, astronomy, and probably most pertinent to us, astrology. So while studying abroad, he was also first accused of sorcery when he made a giant winged scarab that carried an actor through a play for a play production. And everyone was like, witch, witch, witch. But no, he was just science. So in the 1550s, he returned to England, where his personal library expanded to probably become the greatest in England, with maybe his 2,500 books and 1,800 manuscripts. And you think about that in the 15, like those books weren't small either. It's like, where were you keeping this? And it makes me sad that I have so many books in boxes, but 2,500 books is a lot. So to buy all these books and to make ends meet, Dee taught and consulted with exploration companies, and he also drew up a number of horoscopes. He crafted one for the reigning Queen Mary and was accused of both consorting with Elizabeth to overthrow her and that he was attempting to kill her with sorcery. So he was charged with treason, but fortunately for him, Mary died, either from the flu or from cancer. We're not quite sure. So in 1558, Queen Elizabeth I was crowned. And to counter out the prophecies that Notre Dame had made, which foretold there'd be bad luck if she were queen, Dee drew up a horoscope for the day of her coronation, which predicted much nicer things. And Dee's advice would become relied upon by the queen, and she would consult him for everything from her teeth hurting to when she wanted research to validate her claims to the lands in North America. John Dee is credited with coming up the term the British Empire and heavily advocated for English colonies. So he became a personal favorite of the queen's, and she also protected him from further accusations of sorcery. It's always good to have, a monarch on your side when you're doing such things as Dee gets up to. So he was married in 1565, only to have the first wife die childless a decade later. 2 years after that, he wed the 22-year-old Jane Fromenades. Dee was 51 at this time, but he ended up having 8 children with her, and they were conceived according to astrological charts drawn up by Dee that were based on Jane's menstrual cycle, which he diligently recorded. He was like an early period app, he just had the amount of her menses, like how often she was having it, and then he would bang her on the days so they could conceive the best possible children.
I mean, if that's what they agreed to as a couple, I mean, that's kind of early for such thought, I guess.
Early family planning. Early family planning and somewhat not just thinking her belly was full of sea snakes. Although I think that was probably also part of it. So on this day, the sea snake comes forth from her womb, and we can therefore conceive the best child. So by the 1580s, besides setting up spy networks across England, which is, we're skipping a giant chunk of history here because he was a spy and there's a whole bunch of, go look at that shit. We're here to talk about magic. So Dee was really getting into crystallomancy, which is a fancy way of talking about looking into a crystal ball. However, no matter how much he tried it just didn't work for him. So clearly what he needed was somebody with that talent. Not that possibly staring into a crystal ball may not work, just that he wasn't good at it. So First he met a guy named Barnabas Saul, and after a couple of months, it became clear that Saul was a fraud. Not just, I would say his name was Barnabas Saul. How that man is clearly a con man. Nobody named that is ever going to do, he's not good. Don't have him for your pharmacist. He's going to be selling you snake oil. Barnabas Saul cannot be trusted. So, but one of the people who helped clue Dee in on how bad Saul was another man who maybe could not be trusted. And he had just recently started going by the name Edward Kelly. He was born Edward Talbot in Ireland in 1555, and he was much younger than Dee. He started out as a lawyer, but was arrested for forgery, and he may have had both of his ears cut off for that. I saw it.
Why does that have to do?
Because he was a thief and a criminal. So in order for other people to know that he was a criminal, they cut off his ears.
Huh.
I'm not sure. I saw that in some places.
I've never heard that. Interesting.
Yep. So Edward moves in with Dee as his new scryer. And his Dee's young bride is a little like sus and is like, this guy's kind of creepy. I'm not sure how I feel about him. And she may be proven right in a little while. So Dee decided that light rays could be focused using crystal balls or mirrors to control singular angels, and that these rays could be used to prevent the intrusion of evil spirits. So he's got Kelly here to start being the one who's scrying with these rays.
And he needed some Madame Trelawney up in his life.
Right. So he started, Kelly was using black obsidian mirrors and crystal balls to scry, while Dee would record what Kelly was seeing. And Dee recorded hundreds of spirit conversations Kelly had with angels who communicated an angelic language called Enochian, which was comprised of non-English letters with its own grammar and syntax. The Enochian script is written right to left and may use accent marks. Dee himself never called it Enochian, instead referring to it as angelical, the celestial speech, the first language of God, Christ, and particularly Adamical or Adamical. So which Adam, I-C-A-L. And because he asserted that it was first used by Adam in the Garden of Eden to name all of God's creatures. But it's called Enochian because Dee also claimed that Enoch of the Book of Enoch fame was the last human to know the language.
Okay.
So while the Enochian letters have English letter equivalents, their names are often pronounced differently from the corresponding English letters, though some are pronounced as they would be in English. The 48 poetic verses known as the angelical or Enochian keys are used in the practice of Enochian magic, and each has distinct functions within the overall magical system. So the letters themselves are magical, right? So, which is why you can do, like in Supernatural, the glyphs, the sigils that are written in the Enochian magic, those themselves bring forth magic, right? So,
lay a hand on it, it does something.
Yeah, usually if you cut yourself with something, that's going to give you lockjaw. So anyhow, so the angels carried many messages, including predicting the beheading of Mary, Queen of Scots, and the fight with the Spanish Armada. Kelly also received a message from the angels during one of the early sessions that he should get married. So though he claimed to hate marriage, he soon married a 19-year-old named Joan Cooper. Kelly, though, was really more into alchemy and not the scrying stuff that he was doing, and not the spiritual metaphor version of alchemy that we sometimes talk about, where he's trying to become a higher being. He really wants to make gold out of shit. So after a few years, he kind of refuses to do any more scrying for Dee, and Dee's like, well, let me try my 8-year-old son. But he's like, you don't have any talent for this either. Why can't you see anything in this crystal ball? Kelly, get back to work. So Edward Kelly gets back to scrying, and this time the angels send him a message that is so scandalous that he didn't want to tell John Dee. He's like, no, I can't read it. I can't tell you. It's so bad. And so what he said was,
some tea.
Kelly told him that Dee needed to hold all things in common between them, and that included their wives. The angels wanted them to swap wives in bed. Now, Dee said, well, if that's what the angels want, and then he somehow convinced his wife to do this, and then he somehow convinced Edward Kelly's wife, remember, who was also around her early 20s, and Dee's like in his 70s by now. Like, it's just gross.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, he's like, eh.
Yeah, someone's getting the way worse. And some people are getting really bad into this deal, and it's the women. Okay, so the women are getting the bad end of this deal, and this was also
I don't know. Maybe it's good. Who knows?
But this was the end of the angelic conversations. No more angelic. So somehow after this, Dee didn't want to hear from any more angels. So I have condensed their lives into this very big, small nutshell. So in this world, Dee goes back to Elizabeth's court while Kelly kept working on trying to make gold for the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph, who threw him in prison when he failed. Kelly was briefly released, but his freedom didn't last, and he died in prison in 1595. His death is attributed either to suicide or to getting stabbed while attempting an escape. Dee actually dies quietly at his home in 1608, really old man, who lived a very fascinating life and did all sorts of things. And you can see his scrying mirror in the British Museum. They have that there. You can go see the things that he was looking in. looking in that helped shape our modern world. Our modern world was shaped by a dude who let another dude look into a crystal ball and tell him what was going on with the world. And that's what helped shape the British Empire. Sit on that one for a while. So that's just a little bit more into the Enochian language that we have so much, which was what is on our magic eggs, and also into John Dee, who the Golden Dawn, when we get to them, they use a lot of his magic and the Enochian magic. All right, so we're gonna go back to our magic egg, and we're gonna flash back to our AVD opening up and killing a vampire.
Yeah, it's real weird.
And when we're just like, it's like, and whatever the fuck this place is.
Yeah. It's like they're getting like gassed or something. It's weird. So anyway, so we're inside. So now we're inside their compound, and we see Serena walk by, as works there for the British Men of Letters, and Mr. Ketch is real rude to her and hands off his weapons bag for her to just drop at the armory and instructs her to clean his Zig.
He says scrub it, and I mean like scrub my nuts, Ketch. And she's like, I've got 3 PhDs, motherfucker. And then he shits on that too. Like, you know, he probably even didn't finish like whatever Eton or whatever fucking British school like he got kicked out of. So then we have Mary come in, and I'm like, oh, I've worn this outfit.
And Mary is sitting and staring at the text message she has sent to Dean, and he has left her unread. He is not responding.
Yeah, and we get more of this conversation with Dean earlier, and it was really, really emotional. And Dean accuses her of being gone their whole lives. And I'm like, she was dead, Dean. She didn't really have a choice there. And then Rut gets into her for needing space. And then in between, like, they're showing her thirsty texts, and they're just like, they keep getting more desperate, like each going on. Just like, answer me. Why won't you talk to me? I don't know how to use emojis. And then Dean just like tells her like the worst fucking thing, and he just goes too far.
Yeah, because she's like, I'm not just a mom and you're not a child. And he says, I never was. And between us and them, you made the choice. So basically, I thought it was really telling, like, about Dean's character, is that when it's true when you think back, because Mary died and then John started hunting.
Yeah, but you can't tell a woman to try and be a mom. No, fuck you, Dean Winchester. Like, grow the fuck up. She is more than just a mom. And how are you defining that relationship anyhow? So then Dean is just like, it's us or them, and you already made that choice. And get the fuck out.
Yeah. And she tries to appeal to Sam, but he actually takes Dean's side, and he's like, no, I think you should go. So anyways, so Mary's like in some like weird like barracks looking, like, I guess it's her assigned cube. I don't fucking know. And Mr. Ketch wants to go tell Mick that they have terminated another nest. But while they're talking, basically Mick's like, so yeah, you got Mary, but what about her boys? Like, what's up? And Mr. Ketch is like, we don't need them. We have the best Winchester. Mick's like, yeah, but that's not our call. The old man wants them all on board. So
they also think that wherever the Winchesters go, that the American hunters are going to follow that. And I'm also like, are you sure about that? This is Sam and Dean Winchester. They've started like 7 apocalypses. The hunters don't necessarily like them.
But they also do, like, if you think about it, because like I think that even if they start them, they always finish them. I don't know. They always get fanboyed when they meet other hunters. So
I think it depends. So I'm just saying that not all hunters are fans of the Winchesters.
Oh, I'm sure.
So then we go back to our bunker, where Dean has found a dead body in Akron with his throat ripped out ear to ear. But Sam takes his laptop and is like, dude, this is just a drug dealer and his throat was slit. And Dean just wants to hit something.
He really does. And so Sam's like, instead, do you want to talk about it? And Dean's like, no. But then he starts talking about it, like he does. And basically, he just wants to know what Mary was thinking. And Sam's like, well, we could ask her. And he's like, well, but she lied for good reason, maybe. But maybe we need to hear her out because she's family. Sam's suggestion. But Dean calls Sam out for something that's probably kind of true, but he calls him out for being a peacemaker and, straddling the middle. He needs to pick a side in more things instead of trying to always mediate. And leaves him. And then Sam sees a text that he's received from Mary that says that they need to meet because it is urgent.
Yeah, which to me sounds suspicious. I'd be like, this sounds like a trap.
Super sus. For sure.
But no, we go to the Bittersman and Letters compound, and once again, Sam has missed out on using a car from the Men of Letters bunker garage.
Right? So weird.
There's so many choices down there you could have picked.
For real. So Mary meets him at the gate, and she's like, look, I know I messed up, but the British Men of Letters are bigger than us, and they've got a real shot of getting to a world without monsters. So, and then y'all can have normal lives. You go back to college.
You don't have to hunt. You don't have to have these lives. And she pitches this different future and about how this is what they're fighting for, and she just wants to show him. And so she opens up the door, and this is where we can really see how weird ass these connexes are strung together. Yeah. And then she takes him in, and they have like, look at all my pew pew maps.
Mm-hmm. And like, oh, convenient timing. We're about to give a briefing. You should stay.
Super and sad. Sam's gonna split, but Mitt tips him with, we're gonna talk to you about how we're gonna exterminate every last vampire in America. Mm-hmm. And Sam's like, what?
So Dean's at the bunker, and he is calling out for Sam, but finds a note that says, like, went out back later. And he's like, okay, I need booze. And so Dean is poking around for alcohol when there's a knock at the door. And we start cutting back and forth from the bunker to the compound now. And because there's no Mr. Ketch at the compound, because Mr. Ketch is at the bunker to meet Dean. And he's about to close the door on his face, but Mr. Ketch bribes Dean with a fancy scotch.
Yep. So he's got some scotch to drink, which tempts Dean, and Dean's already drunk, so he lets him in. And we're gonna go back to the compound where Mick introduces a hunter out of Baton Rouge named Pierce. We also meet Alton Moorhead, who's the head of R&D, and then we learned that our girl from earlier's full name is Serena Coleman, and that she is the head of security and surveillance.
Yeah. And so Mary sits down to hear the briefing, but Sam's gonna stand. Okay. But basically, Serena is sharing their progress with a fancy map of the Midwest, showing they have killed all but 11 vampires.
Yeah, and there was 241 vampires in the MWR, the Midwest region. And on this Pew Pew map, they have cells, and they range from like 2 to 16 for each of the vampire cells. And I did not do the SPM map to see if it added up, to see if there was like only like, so I wonder if somebody did. I'm sure somebody has, but I did not do that. Not that big of a... So they explain how all the vampires are connected all the way to the chain to the top. But instead of doing this like the hunters in America were doing, which instead of just charging it on nests, they say that they do this differently, and they do recon, assemble a team, and wipe them out. And I would say, at what point are the Winchesters just not doing any research before they go into a vampire's nest? Like, I'm pretty sure they are also doing a recon and learning about them and figuring out who is in there before they... I don't feel like this is a new thing. I think your AVD is new. Yes. I think your tools for taking out these nests and possibly also having the mass amount of surveillance that you have, that is new. Yes, your recon is different because you have access to this. But I mean, at the same time, I don't know. That kind of bugged me.
I agree, because they're not, I mean, like the concept is not different. I fully agree. I think there was one interesting line I thought where they said that the U.S. hunters treat them like criminals and the British Men of Letters treat them like terrorists. Not that I mean, but I think that doesn't change the tactic necessarily, but maybe it changes the mentality. I don't know. I thought it was an interesting comment.
But I mean, he's making a comment, but also if you're just saying you're treating them like terrorist cells, right? And that's and so but the same
interconnected and stuff like that. I think that was the part.
Yeah, I think it's more the interconnected part. But there's also at some point too, like vampire lore starts going crossing between shows, and I was like, wait a minute, so you can't in this one, if I kill a vampire, that whole line doesn't go out, right? I have to like, no, that's not this one. Okay, so
I know. I had to. I had to remember that too. I was like, wait a minute.
this is
What
like, he's like, if I
lore are
kill
we
the
in?
alpha, and I don't. Okay, so their meeting vampires are in Wichita, Kansas, and they're conveniently in Wichita, Kansas.
Of course, yes. And they think that they're all super safe hiding in this motel, but they have an AVD, an anti-vamp device. Ready? Is that what it was called?
AVD? Yes, an AVD.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's an ointment for that.
There is an ointment for that. And so there we go. And then when they're done, they're going to move on to the next region until there's no bloodsuckers left in America. And somehow this turned into the song from Fievel in my head where there are no cats in America. So there are no vamps in America. And the streets are lined with cheese. You're welcome.
Thank you for that. Yeah. So we're going to the Morris Motel, and this woman vampire, her name is Chris. She comes in and she's crying about how they're all dead. Her whole nest is dead, and another vamp is there whose name we never do learn, and he gives her blood to drink in a cup.
Mm-hmm. And then all we hear, he's like, "We're in a fortress. No one gets in without me knowing, but the alpha."
Yeah, I mean, who's here but the motherfucking alpha vamp?
Hello, children.
All smooth as usual. And so we go from him to, he's smiling and is singing, oh, so cute. And we go from there to the bunker where they're drinking scotch and my stomach is just churning. And Dean doesn't like small talk. And catches like, I'm the one who predicted Tony would go rogue. And he did that because he used to date her.
Yeah, so he knew that she was going to be a neurotic time bomb. And Dean's like, and he's like, I don't really care if you join or die, but we're an excellent fit. So, especially for someone that had the killer instincts that can't sit still and wants to hit something or kill something all the time.
Dean. Well, he tries to bond with him over being a psychotic killer and always needing something to punch or kill. And it's really like, Dean should think twice about like some of his actions. If this man is sitting over here, I like to just kill things, and you were just like me. And he's not wrong.
Warning, some little alarm bells should be going off, though.
Yeah, you should maybe thinking about some of your actions. And Ketch is going to leave, but he's like, I've got a vamp nug to drop for you.
Of course, and of course now Dean's attention has been piqued, and he would like to go along with. So, back at the compound, Pierce, the hunter from Louisiana, is fanboying over Sam. And apparently he heard about him from Rufus and they did a job together. And then Alton's like, I've got questions for you and Mary. And Mick's trying to talk to Sam and ask his thoughts on things. And Sam kind of comments on the quality of hunters they're recruiting because he is not stoked on Pierce.
Pierce calls himself the Hunter King of Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
It sounds like, and this was before Tiger King. So he was the original Hunter King. Look at him go. And I bet he had some merch. But apparently the BMOL cannot attract the top shelf hunters besides Mary. Mary's the only one dumb enough. I mean, Mary is the only one who had decided this is a good idea. Right. And yeah, we go back. Now we're back at the motel and Dean and Ketch show up and
Mr. Ketch's intel is that there's 10 vamps, give or take. And so we do get a good trunk shot.
But she's messy. She's kind of messy. She needs to be cleaned up. What the hell is going on? This is why you can't find your shit. And Ketch is like, oh, my weapon's too easy. I guess I should also get a machete.
Instead of using my cool weapon, I'm going to use a machete with you. Okay.
He's trying to bond, right? So the two of them go in, but we don't get to see that yet. We have to go back to the embellishment of letters. And Mary said she needed Sam to know. And he is like, this is a pretty good sales pitch. I'm like, oh, man, he's falling for this. And we pass all the surveillance screens. And that's when we zoom into the guard outside. And the guard outside is not having a good day.
No, he gets attacked by something. Back at this motel, though, where the last vamps are supposed to be all like huddled up, Dean and Mr. Ketch find one, and she was like with all the corpses.
Yeah, it was
Anyway,
Chris from earlier.
yeah, and she's like, "Look, I don't know where anybody is," and so Mr. Ketch is like violently punching her, trying to question her, and it is not working. It's an unsuccessful tactic, sir.
Yes, your torture technique doesn't work, and Dean has had enough of this. It makes him stop.
Yeah, and is like, and she's like, "Are you gonna let me go?" And she's like, "No, but I'll make it quick." Instead of like torturing you or beating you to death. And she's like, they went hunting the hunters.
What?
Hunting the hunters. So finally, Serena notices that their security guard from the front gate is missing at the compound. And right then, it's actually a funny scene.
It's funny. I know, like, I know the guard is dead, but they're using his hand to open up the gate, and having to get his hand over there, like, is just comical. It takes him a little bit to like figure out how to make it work, and it's kind of, yeah.
So apparently, all of these the remaining vampires are now there. They have figured out, and the gate opens, and Sam's like, "We need to lock down. Come on, hello, what's happening?" And security needs to fall back. So all these orders go out, but it's too fucking late, because as these security guards are trying to back into their little secure areas and lock up, vampires are getting in around them and behind them. So Mary and Sam are like, "Uh-oh, we better figure something out while y'all hide, because y'all don't know how to fight, because you just know technology." And they are able to decapitate a couple of vampires, but more are getting in, and they could take one back for questioning. But anyways, so Mick's like, "What the fuck? How'd you find us? How did you know who we are?" And they gets laughed at, and he's like, "He told us. He's come back to save us all, our father." Alpha, clearly.
Yeah. And they're like, "That's impossible. The Alpha is in Morocco." And Sam's like, "You're fucking wrong, because I met him in Hoople, South Dakota. Duh, everyone knows he's in Hoople.
Like 5 years ago. Come on." And the vampire gets killed by Mary.
Well, because he won't shut up, and Mary cuts off his head.
Well, yeah, he was annoying. That's fair.
Yep. And then they said they're going to try and figure out what to do. And Mary, again, this is where she's like, "Who's killed anybody?" And not even Mick has, which is surprising. Right? That, like, you would think that he'd at least have done some field work, but no, he is not. And Pierce raises his hand. So at least we have that douche guy. So we don't have that. And they're like, "Let's put our weapons on the table." And most of their weapons are in the armory, including the AVD. And so, like, well, maybe we can get that and set it off in the vents, and maybe that'll hurt the Alpha. And Sam's at this point, it's like, "Do we have anything that's, stronger than the AVD?" And Mary just looks at Mick and is like, "Where is it?" Uh-oh.
And as this is happening, we see a lot of vampires like surrounding the building, and some getting into the building. And so Mick gets his fancy suitcase and opens it up, and we have the cult. Bum, bum, bum.
And this is when Mary finally tells Sam that she stole the Colt from Ramiel. And he's just kind of dumbfounded. And Mick is just like, "Well, it doesn't work because we don't have any bullets." But Sam's like, "Yep, I've got a recipe from an old friend."
Good old Bobby.
Good old Bobby. What you're going to need? You need some holy oil,
sage, and myrrh.
Yep. And do you have any of that? If not, can I interest you in some artisanal holy oil for sale at our shop?
You make a tincture and you coat the silver bullets in it. And he writes down and you have to say this spell, and he hands it off to Mick, because Mary, Sam, and Pierce are going to go run out to get to the armory, while Mick and Serena and Alton try to make some magic bullets for the cult.
And Pierce is going to go with them and says he's got their back.
Yeah. So Sam's fighting vampires, and while he's fighting them, Mary and Pierce run to go the other way to go get to the armory, and Mick, Serena, and Alton do the spell while Dean and Mr. Ketch are driving, because they realize they need to get back to this compound. And as Mick is doing the spell, Pierce is at the door by himself, which is super questionable, and says, "It's bad out there." And then Alpha kills Alton.
Yep, and his heart gets ripped out just by the Alpha, and Pierce is a traitor.
Because he said it's bad in here too, huh? Which is actually a really good line. Gold
It was
star.
it was a
I
good line,
appreciate
yeah.
that. I appreciate that. And then Serena gets bitten by the alpha, so now it's just Mick holding this Colt and the bullets. As Sam is still killing vampires,
And
and
there is some like the vamp shtick in this is really good. So there's a headless vamp that's just like munching at the
twitching.
air, and he's chewing. I had to watch it twice. I had to rewind it just to watch the vamp just be like nom 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 at the air away from his body.
Well, we find out because Mick is going to ask questions and Pierce feels like talking, but basically he is the alpha's hunter because he keeps the alpha off the radar and gets paid for doing that. So sketch.
Yeah, and the alpha is upset about how many of his children they have killed, and he
And that he
knew
really
it.
just wanted to live quietly, and
Yeah,
he let it go, but now
well,
it's
he
too
knew
many.
he knew about it before, and he knew it was England, and he didn't get involved because it was England, and who gives a shit? But America, fuck you, get off my lawn, and he really does say "get off my lawn," and it's fucking hilarious.
So good, so good. Yes. So Sam does get away and finds Mary on the floor of the armory unconscious because Pierce knocked her out and damaged, it looks like he damaged the AVD. But the alpha is telling Mick that you need to call off the human incursion and then, call your people and
Call
then
the
they
old
can,
men. Yeah, so
and they
phone
can
home.
phone home and they can watch you get devoured.
Yeah, well, he's supposed to first tell them to stop doing what they're doing, and then watch him get eaten on camera, which
It
seems
feels like a
like
call. Like, why would you make that call?
I don't think I'd do
No,
that. I think I'd tell you like, no, just eat me now, or don't eat
yeah,
me, and
just no.
I'd probably
Right.
say eat me, knowing me. So, or bite me, and then be like, damn it, did I just tell the vampire to bite me? God, duh. So
Yeah.
Sam and Mary get into this room where Mary takes out Pierce, and Sam grabs the Colt. And so he's grabbing his Colt and he's pointing it at the alpha. And he's like, Sam, there are 5 things the Colt can't kill, and I am one of them. And Sam's like, wait a minute. No, you're not.
Are you one of the 5? I don't know. But anyway, Sam, and he's like, you can't save all of y'all. And Sam's like, I'm not trying to save all of you. My family's killed vampires, you know, for years, and you let us. So I don't know. Let's and we've let some of them live. I don't know. So why don't you let us go? Let us walk away. Just me and my mom. We're gonna fucking go. You're gonna let us leave, and you can go back to the way things used to be. We hunt. It's like cops and robbers. It's a fair fight. It's fine. And
Yep,
he's
and you
like,
can
what
have
about
the
the
Brit.
Brit? Yeah, you can have them. Have the Brits. And Mick's pissed, and he's like, Sam's like, I'm picking a side. And we have a kerfuffle.
Yeah, and Mick runs at Sam, and Mary runs at the alpha, who knocks her aside. And Sam still has the gun pointed at the alpha, who's like, but that gun isn't loaded. But are you sure? And then we get a flashback to what really happened when Mick ran at Sam. And what he did was he gave him a bullet.
It was actually really cool. And so Mick was secretly slipping Sam a bullet for this whole thing. So it was all the distraction. And Sam cocks very slow-mo, cocks the Colt, shoots the alpha, and it was a really cool shot as it goes straight through the alpha.
And he dies. Oh, he killed the alpha. I like the alpha. He's great. He's comic relief, and I like him.
He's a good character. It's fun.
Yeah, no, he's such a good actor too, and I'm just kind of bummed. He's just like, I just really, and also just like the alphas in general. Alpha dies. We got crossover, see a dead Serena, and Mary comes in and tells Mick that she took out some stragglers, but the rest ran when they took out the alpha. Because once again, in this series, when you kill the alpha, the rest of the vampires don't die, no matter how much we think that. Because isn't that happen with the werewolves in the show? It happens with one line of something, and I'm the lore person. I should know that, but
there's so many lores and so many fantasy things that we watch. It's so hard to keep.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes they kind of go back. So, Dean and Ketch are now back, and Ketch is like, "Well, Mick, you cock blocked me with Dean. Way to go! Like I could have had this. We could have had this moment going, but
yeah." And Mr. Ketch is like, "I was just following orders." And Mick's like, but people died. And like, Mr. Ketch's like, yeah, that's in our line of work. That's what fucking happens. People die. But whatever. So Mr. Ketch and Mick obviously have some disagreements on tactic.
Maybe they used to date too. We go from that to Dean telling Sam that they heard the place was under attack and they got there as fast as they could. And Sam's just like, why?
Like, why would you come here? And obviously for mom, but
Yeah.
still. And he's like, look, it's not her. He's like, look, it's not your job to make our lunch. We are adults. We make our own choices. We just have to get used to it. Oh, thanks, Dean.
Way to be a grown up.
Mm-hmm. So we see Mr. Ketch leading Pierce out because he is not dead, but they have unpleasant ways to take care of rogue hunters. And the Winchesters are pleased with that answer.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like there's a moral line of giving someone to the men of letters. But anyhow, so Nick comes out and tries to talk his way out of things and just thinks he's just like going to have to kind of keep like dancing around shit. But Sam is just in.
He says, I'm in after tonight. Tonight was bad, but the alpha's dead, and I just need time to get Dean to buy in.
And they are changing the world and he wants to be a part of it. And that's just terrifying. And so Sam wants to join up. He's gonna give him some time to work on Dean. And Sam walks back over to Sam. And that's how it ends, with the three of them talking over my baby. Oh,
yikes. It always goes so well when the Winchesters are divided, especially when they don't tell each other that they have different plans.
Yeah. So we'll go over that a little bit. So why don't we talk about some of the people who played the things?
Sure. Pierce Moncrief was played by Aaron Douglas. He's been in a lot of stuff, actually. He's in episodes of Smallville, Falling Skies, X-Files, The Flash, Once Upon a Time, iZombie, Van Helsing, and Resident Alien, and more. He's also a deputy in Final Destination 2, Paparazzi and Lizzie McGuire movie, paramedic in the movie Saved, Casino Stickman in Walking Tall, a young soldier in Chronicles of Riddick, an attorney in iRobot, a detective in Catwoman movie, the one with Halle Berry, young father in White Noise, the horror movie, a DA in The Exorcism of Emily Rose. He is Chief Galen Tyrell in all of the Battlestar Galacticas. That's like hundreds of episodes all in of everything in movies, all the spin-offs and stuff. He's Bill in Hellcats as a repeat character, Sid in Murder in a Small Town as a repeat character, and he is going to be in at least one episode of Vault Rising.
Nice. Serena comes out.
Yeah. Serena Coleman was played by Sunita Prasad. She's been in episodes of Smallville, Fringe, Almost Human, Bates Motel, iZombie, Unreal, Magicians, Travelers, X-Files, Good Doctor, Nancy Drew, and School Spirits. She's Rahani in The Day the Earth Stood Still, and has done a lot of Hallmark movies. Alton Moorhead was played by Burkett Turton. He was been in episodes of X-Files, Smallville, 24, Fringe, Flash, Jessica Jones, Magicians, Riverdale a few times, Nancy Drew, The Good Doctor, and Murder in a Small Town. He's also in the movie Saved as Mitch. He was in Walking Tall also. I always love the crossovers in the same episode. Dingo in Blade Trinity. And he was a guard in Wrath of the Titans, and he is Vampire Steve in iZombie as a recurring character. Yeah, so good. It was an entertaining cast. I'm kind of sad those two characters don't carry over.
Yeah. No, they could have been interesting. But I mean, I think it depends on how much we want to devote to the BMOLs.
That's true.
You know, and how much would be setting up for spinoff and stuff. So what do you think of the episode?
So I thought it was I thought it was cool because as a viewer, you see the flaws. Like we could see more of the flaws and the sketchiness of the British Men of Letters. I think it was interesting to show the monsters fight back, I guess is another way. And then, but also it was super frustrating watching the Winchesters split up like this. Not physically, but like they're on different teams, if you will.
I mean, I don't know if I mean, that's kind of how we ended, and we'll see where we end up going with that. But it's also this speech that the British men of letters that they're giving that Mary has been
Bought into.
bought into, but Sam is now saying yes. This is also a whole we exterminate all the monsters, and the what has been lacking in British men of letter conversations have and Mary it's with vampires specifically is we know that not all vampires are bad. We've met them on this show, so
Sisters have done a really good job so far. Sam and Dean have dealt with not
well,
aggressively,
I mean,
but somewhat.
we've gone
They've
back and we've had to
wrestled
deal
with
with it
it.
frustratingly enough that
Yeah.
it's topic of conversation that why are we just ignoring this and just going forth and just we want a world where there's no monsters
But
and
sometimes the monsters start human and don't want to be monsters. And what if there's a conversation about that?
yeah
Like, is their
and
stance just to kill everybody that's possessed and not try to exorcise it? Like, I don't know. There's things like that. Like, what's the
well, I mean, clearly we're going to have that conversation that we are having that conversation with the spawn of Lucifer. As you know, we had that come up with Kelly Klein, the nature versus nurture conversation with is this being automatically going to be evil? And just automatically exterminating all the vampires doesn't seem like I don't know, like there seems to be like there's some thought in this and that's for you. Whether one of the many reasons I don't like the British men of letters, but they do have cool toys.
They do have cool toys.
Anything else? All right. Cheers, jerk.
Cheers, bitch.